In a revealing turn of events, recent analyses suggest that Chinese President Xi Jinping's grip on power is loosening, particularly within the military establishment. This shift was highlighted during a recent military gala where state media notably refrained from prominently featuring Xi, signaling a significant change in the perception of his leadership. Katsuji Nakazawa, a seasoned journalist with extensive experience covering China, points out that this military event offers a rare glimpse into the evolving dynamics behind the scenes of the Chinese government. Xi's personality cult, once a cornerstone of his administration, appears to be diminishing, raising questions about the future of his leadership. The recent purges of military officials, including 2 defense ministers, have drawn attention to potential disarray within the ranks and a crisis of loyalty that could threaten Xi's authority. Analysts suggest that these developments may indicate a broader military discontent, potentially fueled by Xi's monopolization of power, an approach that has left little room for dissent or alternative viewpoints within the armed forces. At the same time, the international landscape is shifting, particularly with the impending return of Donald Trump to the White House. Trump's approach to U.S. China relations could influence Xi's standing both domestically and internationally. A recent analysis in foreign policy underscores that the relationship between the two superpowers has soured significantly, with a Pew survey revealing that 81% of Americans now view China unfavorably. This stark contrast to the once celebrated economic interdependence dubbed China is emblematic of a broader disillusionment on both sides. As Trump prepares for his second term, there is speculation around the potential for a grand bargain with China, akin to the Plaza Accord of the 1980s. This could involve negotiations that not only address trade deficits but also seek to stabilize the geopolitical landscape. However, the feasibility of such an agreement is complicated by ongoing tensions surrounding Taiwan and differing national priorities. In this context, technology plays a crucial role. The emergence of DeepSeek, a Chinese AI chatbot, has stirred discussions about censorship and information control in China. A recent experiment by Vivian Wang from the New York Times revealed that DeepSeek navigates the complexities of Chinese censorship awkwardly, often self-censoring while engaging in conversations about sensitive topics. This suggests that even as technology advances, the specter of censorship looms large, affecting how information is disseminated and perceived within China and beyond. The implications of these developments are profound. Xi's waning influence could lead to more significant shifts within the Chinese military and government. While Trump's return may prompt a re-evaluation of U.S. China relations, potentially resetting the stage for dialogue and negotiation. However, the path forward is fraught with challenges, including the ever-present threat of miscommunication or misunderstanding between the two nations. As the global community watches these unfolding dynamics, one thing remains clear: the interplay of domestic politics in China and international relations will shape not only the future of Xi Jinping's administration but also the broader geopolitical landscape. The coming months will be crucial as both Xi and Trump navigate their respective challenges, and the outcomes of their strategies could redefine the balance of power on the world stage for years to come. In an era characterized by shifting geopolitical landscapes, the recent analyses of U.S. foreign policy under President Donald Trump reveal a stark departure from the post-World War II international order. Prominent scholars Ivo H. Dolder and James M. Lindsay examine these developments in a compelling piece published in Foreign Affairs, articulating the potential implications of a Trump-led return to a Might Makes Right world. This analysis is particularly relevant as the United States navigates complex relationships with adversaries like China and Russia, who stand to benefit from this new geopolitical paradigm. Dolder and Lindsay argue that the traditional Pax Americana, which emphasized cooperative international relations and the promotion of democratic values, has effectively disintegrated. They trace its decline to Trump's inauguration, highlighting a transformative shift in U.S. foreign policy driven by skepticism toward global alliances and a desire to prioritize national interests above all else. Trump's administration has repeatedly criticized the existing global framework, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio declaring it a weapon used against the United States. Instead, Trump appears to advocate for a return to 19th-century power politics where might is the determinant of geopolitical outcomes. This reorientation is evidenced by Trump's ambivalence towards U.S. commitments to allies, particularly in regions like Eastern Europe and Asia, where he questions the necessity of American support for Ukraine and Taiwan. Such positions have raised alarms among U.S. allies as they fear a diminished American presence could embolden adversaries like Russia and China to expand their influence unchecked. For instance, Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has expressed concerns about Trump's potential willingness to negotiate security matters directly with China, which could undermine Japan's strategic position in the Asia-Pacific. Moreover, Dalder and Lindsay emphasize that while the United States has significant advantages such as a powerful military and a robust economy, its lack of familiarity with raw power politics could lead to detrimental outcomes. In contrast, leaders like Xi Jinping of China and Vladimir Putin of Russia have long been entrenched in this realm and are adept at leveraging power to achieve their objectives. The authors argue that Trump's admiration for these autocratic figures reflects a troubling inclination towards a more coercive form of international relations, as he often praises their decisive actions while criticizing democratic allies for perceived inadequacies. The implications of this shift are profound. Dalder and Lindsay caution that Trump's approach to foreign policy may not yield the promised benefits. While it may lead to short-term gains, such as increased cooperation from neighboring countries, over time it could erode the United States' long-standing alliances and influence. As allies begin to lose faith in U.S. commitments, they may seek refuge in partnerships with China or Russia, further isolating the United States on the world stage. Additionally, the authors highlight the dangers of economic coercion as a foreign policy tool. Trump's reliance on tariffs and threats to manipulate trade relationships marks a departure from the principles of free trade that have historically underpinned U.S. economic leadership. This strategy could not only backfire by alienating potential partners, but it also risks locking American producers out of crucial global markets, especially as countries turn to alternative trading blocs such as the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, which the U.S. abandoned. As the global landscape continues to evolve, the future of U.S. foreign policy remains uncertain. The authors suggest that the success of this new power-oriented approach will depend on the actions of both the United States and its rivals. Should China and Russia overreach, it may create opportunities for the United States to rebuild its alliances. However, if Trump continues to alienate traditional partners, the world may face a more dangerous and unpredictable era of international relations. In conclusion, the trajectory of U.S. foreign policy under Trump's leadership signals a significant shift away from a cooperative global order towards a more confrontational and unilateral approach. As nations adapt to this changing dynamic, the long-term ramifications for global stability and prosperity remain to be seen. If allies can unite and assert their own influence, there may still be a chance for a new order that balances power without descending into chaos. The coming months will reveal whether the United States can navigate this complex landscape or if it will spiral into a darker chapter of international relations defined by power struggles and isolation. As the geopolitical landscape grows increasingly complex, the looming threat of renewed trade hostilities between the United States and China casts a long shadow over global markets. With Donald Trump returning to the White House, analysts suggest that China is better prepared than ever for a potential trade war. This time the stakes are higher and the dynamics have shifted in ways that could reshape international relations and economic policies. In a recent interview with CBS News, Dr. Henry Wang, an advisor to the Chinese government, encapsulated the uncertainty surrounding the upcoming trade policies. China hopes for the best and prepares for the worst. Trump's aggressive tariff rhetoric, which includes potential tariffs of up to 10% on all Chinese imports, signals a willingness to leverage economic pressure as a negotiating tool. As Trump himself stated, tariffs represent one very big power over China. While the specter of tariffs has once again emerged, the landscape that Trump faces now is markedly different from that of his previous term. Analysts point out that China has made significant strides toward economic self-sufficiency, particularly in key sectors like electric vehicles, battery production, and artificial intelligence. Louis Vincent gave a research analyst emphasized this transformation, noting that China today is probably more productive than any economy has ever been. This newfound resilience could insulate China from the worst impacts of a trade war, making it a formidable economic competitor. China's advancements in technology are underscored by the recent success of its AI company DeepSeek, which has reportedly matched or even surpassed U.S. capabilities. In a landscape where technology is increasingly intertwined with national security, U.S. officials have raised alarms about the implications of DeepSeek's developments. As gave cautioned the notion that the U.S. can decisively outpace China in technology over the next 2 decades is madness, particularly given the current generation of tech-savvy Chinese students entering the workforce. However, the economic interdependence between the U.S. and China complicates the situation. Paul Ashworth, chief North America economist at Capital Economics, highlighted that the U.S. accounts for merely 7% of Chinese exports, limiting Beijing's ability to retaliate effectively compared to other trade partners like Canada or Mexico. This reality suggests that while tariffs may hurt, the impact will be less severe than in previous confrontations. As both nations grapple with their respective economic challenges, China facing a slowdown and the U.S. wrestling with inflation, the prospects for productive dialogue seem tenuous. Many Chinese citizens harbor hopes for improved relations, yet there is a prevailing sense of skepticism regarding Trump's willingness to engage in meaningful negotiations. A young woman on a ferry between Hong Kong and the mainland captured this sentiment, expressing doubts about Trump's commitment to cooperative relations, stating that he prioritizes his own interests. Moreover, the implications of the impending trade policies extend beyond bilateral relations. Dr. Wang warned that failure to resolve differences could lead to broader global consequences, asserting, "I think it's going to be very devastating to the world, not just the U.S. and China. The world doesn't want to have to pick sides." This perspective highlights the interconnectedness of global economies and the potential for a trade war to reverberate far beyond the borders of the two superpowers. In parallel, discussions are emerging around the possibility of a grand bargain between the U.S. and China that could redefine their economic relationship. Zongyuan Zoe Lu, a columnist at Foreign Policy, suggests that a cooperative approach could preserve global peace and economic stability. However, achieving such a deal would require navigating complex geopolitical tensions, particularly surrounding Taiwan, a flashpoint that continues to fuel mistrust. As the world watches closely, the unfolding narrative of U.S.-China relations is set against a backdrop of technological rivalry and economic competition. The recent achievements of Chinese firms like DeepSeek serve as a reminder that the landscape of technological leadership is rapidly evolving. For U.S. policymakers, understanding the implications of these developments is crucial in shaping a coherent strategy that balances competition with cooperation. Ultimately, the path forward remains uncertain. The actions taken by both countries in the coming months will likely have lasting effects on their respective economies and the broader global market. As the new year unfolds, the potential for a renewed trade war looms large, yet so does the opportunity for constructive engagement that could redefine not only U.S.-China relations but the future of global economic cooperation, and a significant advancement that is reshaping the landscape of artificial intelligence and its implications for national security. China's DeepSeek has introduced a generative AI model that dramatically reduces the computational resources required for high-performance AI applications. This breakthrough not only raises alarms in Washington but also presents an opportunity for U.S. companies to innovate and potentially enhance military capabilities. DeepSeek's announcement has reverberated across key sectors, drawing immediate concern from the White House, Wall Street, and Silicon Valley. President Trump characterized the development as a wake-up call for American industries, emphasizing the urgent need to compete with China in the AI arena. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed that the National Security Council is assessing the situation while the U.S. Navy has preemptively banned the use of DeepSeek's application. In financial markets, Nvidia's stock prices took a hit, underscoring the broader economic implications of this technological leap. OpenAI, a prominent competitor, has voiced accusations that DeepSeek's model essentially distills their own work, further intensifying the competitive atmosphere. The significance of DeepSeek lies primarily in its innovative approach to model efficiency. Unlike traditional models that rely heavily on expansive datasets and extensive computational power, DeepSeek employs a more open-source methodology, allowing for the distillation of advanced reasoning capabilities into smaller, more efficient models. This shift towards compact AI not only challenges existing paradigms but also sets a new benchmark for performance, particularly in reasoning-intensive tasks such as mathematics and coding. DeepSeek's use of reinforcement learning, bypassing the conventional supervised fine-tuning methods prevalent in American AI development, marks a stark departure from the practices of U.S. tech giants. While the model has shown competitive performance, particularly in reasoning tasks, it does exhibit vulnerabilities in non-reasoning tasks and factual accuracy, indicating that it is not without its limitations. Analysts are keenly observing the competitive dynamics that DeepSeek introduces. Alex Wang, CEO of Scale AI, noted in a CNBC interview that despite U.S. export controls on advanced microchips, China has managed to acquire a substantial number of NVIDIA's H100 chips, which could bolster their AI capabilities. An NVIDIA spokesperson acknowledged DeepSeek's advancements, highlighting the model's ability to enhance performance using a technique called test time scaling, which optimizes computational resources during the inference phase. The emergence of such a model poses significant implications for the U.S. military and its approach to AI integration. The Pentagon's focus on edge computing and deploying AI capabilities closer to operational theaters is now underscored by the potential for smaller, more efficient AI models that can function in environments with limited resources. This shift may lead to increased collaboration between the Defense Department and American companies to develop competitive alternatives to DeepSeek. As the U.S. grapples with its strategic response, experts and industry leaders are advocating for a reorientation towards innovation that does not rely solely on massive financial investments. Data scientist Drew Brunig cautioned against the notion that progress is solely tied to spending, arguing instead for creative solutions that could emerge from constraints. This sentiment is echoed by other industry voices such as Pete Warden, CEO of AI startup Useful Sensors, who emphasized the potential of smaller models to produce significant impacts without the need for exorbitant resources. However, the discourse surrounding DeepSeek is not without skepticism. Stanford AI researcher Ritwik Gupta cautioned against overhyping the model, noting that it still operates on a large scale with 671 billion parameters. Nonetheless, DeepSeek's ability to offer distilled versions of its models could democratize access to AI technologies, allowing smaller players to leverage advanced capabilities that were previously the domain of larger corporations. The implications of these developments extend beyond military applications. As DeepSeek's technology becomes more accessible, it raises questions about the future of AI governance and individual privacy, particularly in contexts where personal data may be utilized in training models. Heidi Klopf, chief AI scientist at the AI Now Institute, warned of the privacy risks that arise from the proliferation of AI models trained on sensitive data, emphasizing the need for comprehensive reforms to protect individuals' information. In conclusion, DeepSeek's breakthrough represents a pivotal moment in the ongoing global AI race, particularly in the context of U.S. China relations. As American industries are urged to innovate in response, the focus on smaller, more efficient AI models could redefine competitive strategies and operational capabilities in both commercial and military spheres. Looking ahead, the challenge will be to balance innovation with ethical considerations, ensuring that advancements in AI do not come at the cost of personal privacy or national security. The unfolding narrative will likely see greater engagement between the U.S. and its allies, as well as a re-evaluation of strategies to maintain technological superiority in an increasingly competitive landscape. In a surprising turn of events, India and China, two nations long marked by tension, have embarked on a diplomatic thaw that signals a potential shift in regional dynamics. following a diplomatic breakthrough earlier this week. Both countries have announced a series of collaborative measures aimed at repairing their historically fraught relationship, showcasing a dedication to dialogue and cooperation. On January 27, 2025, Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri met with senior Chinese officials including Foreign Minister Wang Yi during a visit to Beijing. This high-level meeting culminated in several concrete agreements which were detailed in a statement from India's Ministry of External Affairs (MEA). Among these are the resumption of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra pilgrimage this summer, the restoration of direct flights between New Delhi and Beijing, and the issuance of visas for journalists and think tank representatives from both countries. Furthermore, the two nations agreed to share trans-border river data, a move that underscores a growing recognition of the importance of managing shared water resources. This diplomatic engagement comes against the backdrop of a complex geopolitical landscape, where both countries are acutely aware of the potential benefits of collaboration. As Misri noted, engagement is essential for stability in the region, highlighting a mutual interest in reducing tensions and fostering a more conducive environment for dialogue. The renewed cooperation is particularly significant given the history of border skirmishes and military standoffs that have characterized India-China relations over the past several years. Despite these positive developments, analysts caution that the road ahead may be fraught with challenges. The fine print of the recent statements from both sides reveals underlying divergences on key issues such as territorial disputes and strategic ambitions. For instance, while both countries have expressed a commitment to resolving differences through dialogue, there remains a palpable wariness regarding each other's intentions. Experts argue that this cautious optimism must be tempered with an understanding of the historical complexities that have shaped India-China relations. Moreover, the broader geopolitical context cannot be ignored. The thaw in relations comes at a time when both nations are navigating an increasingly assertive China and a complex U.S. foreign policy landscape under President Donald Trump. Trump's willingness to engage directly with China, coupled with his unpredictable approach to international alliances, has created an atmosphere of uncertainty for U.S. allies, including Japan, which is scrambling to secure assurances from Washington regarding its commitment to the region. In light of these developments, the implications for regional stability are profound. A strengthened India-China relationship could potentially reshape the balance of power in Asia, offering a counterbalance to U.S. influence. However, this also raises questions about the future of trilateral engagements involving the U.S. and its allies in the region. As Japan seeks to reaffirm its ties with Washington amid concerns over China's growing assertiveness. As both India and China navigate this delicate diplomatic landscape, the path forward will require sustained dialogue and a willingness to address contentious issues head-on. The recent agreements are a promising start, but their success will ultimately depend on the ability of both nations to build trust and foster a spirit of cooperation that transcends historical grievances. Looking ahead, observers will be keenly watching how this evolving relationship unfolds and what it means for the future of Asia's geopolitical landscape.